Prepare for Cenk and I to disagree, because Tucker Carlson wants some cred in an article he wrote that he's one of the Republicans that's actually holding Donald Trump semi kind of accountable for this Ukraine scandal. So we've got him on video, we'll get to that in a second, but we also have some excerpts from his article on the Daily Caller, where I go to lose a little bit of my sanity. The article says, Donald Trump should not have been on the phone with a foreign head of state encouraging another country to investigate his political opponent, Joe Biden. Some Republicans are trying, but there's no way to spin this as a good idea. Like a lot of things Trump does, it was pretty over the top. Our leaders' official actions should not be about politics. Those two things need to remain separate. Once those in control of our government use it to advance their political goals, we become just another of the world's many corrupt countries. America is better than that.
Okay, so
I'll have a little bit more, but feel free.
Yeah, first of all, look, I have been, I think, sufficiently vicious to Tucker Carlson on many occasions, including on this issue, because this is just part of what he says. On air, on Fox News, he has said that impeachment is basically a coup. So
he said coup.
Yeah, literally, that's the exact word he used. So basically in this article, he's admitting, yeah, Trump broke the law. And Republicans trying to spin it are absurd. Look, the reason why John and I guess, will disagree is that I think that's really important for one of the top Fox News opinion hosts to say, yeah, it's wrong and it's absurd to try to spin it, because they live in an absurd world, and anything that pierces that bubble and has people going, wait, is it absurd? I thought facts didn't matter. I thought the law didn't matter, but now Tucker's telling me the law matters. That's weird, and so I think that that's potentially important. On the other hand, he says, nah, don't worry about it. We're not gonna do anything about it. So, well, okay, then what other laws can he break? And I'm curious where he delineates, and I would literally like to ask him this. Where do you draw the line? And it's an interesting question. I don't even think that it's necessarily an easy question. If Trump was jaywalking, I don't think we should impeach him, right? He, maybe a serious traffic offense that might even be a misdemeanor. I don't know if you should impeach him, right? But this is a very serious law where you're jeopardizing the sanctity of our elections, because can then Democrats ask North Korea to bug people's phones, et cetera, or tap into their computers? So he doesn't answer any of those. He just basically goes, yeah, don't be absurd. Of course it's wrong, but don't worry about it.
Well, the line, where they would draw the line is when it would actually affect a Republican being in power. That's where they'll draw the line. That's true of any of these sort of like, I mean, Tucker Carlson isn't one of these, but like the sort of quote unquote never Trump Republicans, like they'll call him out or they'll say bad things about Trump or whatever. But like when the rubber hits the road, like if it were to hit the road and there was an actual moment in which he could conceivably lose power, they're not gonna go through it.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons I think, maybe we don't disagree, but one of the reasons I think we disagree is, and feel free to correct me if I'm mischaracterizing what you're saying, is that he's saying on the one hand, don't do anything, but he's being big enough or independent enough or intellectually honest enough to acknowledge that it is actually wrong. Is that fair?
Yeah,
that's not what I think he's doing.
Oh, okay, what do you think?
I think he is very specifically saying, here is why I think it's wrong, to then recontextualize it in a way that ensures that his viewers or readers or whatever will never think that he should have any consequences for it. I think that this is just a rhetorical trick to bamboozle people into supporting illegal activity.
Yeah, then we do disagree. I don't think it's a rhetorical trick. Remember guys, it's on the Daily Caller, it's not on Fox News. He does, I'm curious to see if he does it tonight or if he ever does it on Fox News, because that'll rile people up. This is a way, I'm also skeptical of it, but in a different way. This is for him later, if Trump gets impeached, to say, hey, I wrote it was wrong.
That's a possibility.
I wrote it was wrong. Now, I didn't say it on Fox News. On Fox News, I called it a coup, right? So I can get my ratings and I can get and I don't want to burst anyone's bubble. We're all in the insane bubble where things are upside down world, and that's totally fine. But hey, look at me. I once wrote it in a blog no one reads.
Yeah. Tucker's very clever. I mean, Tucker is way more clever than like someone like Hannity, who's just like a meathead.
I agree. Yeah.
Tucker's not a dummy by any stretch of the imagination, and he knows how to very selectively cherry pick left points of view to then sort of put him through his like weird processing in his mind and then spit it back out to Fox News viewers in a way that sort of benefits the right-wing agenda always, time and time again. I mean, he's very clever about doing that. I mean, you've seen him when he's criticized capitalism, like on his show, and it's like, I'm like, what? You know, like, but that's what he's doing. He's using selective arguments from the left here and there to sort of position himself as an independent voice when in reality, you know, he is just as much of a propagandist as anyone else.
Yeah, and he is doing that to get his viewers to support, as he will support every Republican president for the rest of his life. So we can call it independent, it fulfills the same political objective. Here's the issue, he might be clever, but he's also a massive liar. So you're gonna see in the next paragraph, so we're skipping a little bit with some whataboutism about Obama spying on Trump or whatever. But then he goes to, the key question with Trump's Ukraine call though is whether the president's actions, advisable or not, rise to the level of an impeachable offense. It's hard to argue they do. The president did not, as was first reported, offer a quid pro quo to the Ukrainians. That is at the very least debatable. He did not condition any US support on a Biden investigation. So look, we can go to the summary of the call, and I would make the case that it's pretty clear from the way the argument proceeded that he was conditioning it on it. But we also know furthermore that from all of the texts that have come out that the other people who were dispatched, diplomats, members of the State Department, they were raising concerns over the fact that this was obviously a quid pro quo, that a trip for the Ukrainian president to come to the White House was explicitly conditioned on them investigating Biden. Tucker Carlson, what, did he just not pay attention to the news for 24 hours? He knows that. He's lying to his readers here.
Yeah, totally. Look, of course. So Pence was then sent to Ukraine to say, hey, I'm not giving you the aid yet. And remember, the thing we really care about is corruption. And like with the president, he never mentioned any Ukrainians in the corruption. Okay, the only time that, I mean, guys, look, this is why Tucker is being disingenuous. And unless you're in the MAGA cult, everyone knows we're right about this. Because you're telling me that Donald Trump has a genuine interest in the corruption happening in Ukraine and China. And he's really worried about it. It keeps him up at night. He's like, I wonder what's going on with Poroshenko, right? And what's going on with Xi Jinping? And to pick random names from those countries, right? Or not so random. And say, oh my God, have they gotten corruption under control in China? I'm really worried about it. Now, as it turns out, the only person I'm gonna mention when I talk about corruption is Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. You don't believe that, nobody believes that. Of course he's trying to investigate his political opponents, and he doesn't give a damn about corruption in Ukraine. And of course the money's held up because he wants them to investigate Biden. And the text from the State Department prove it. You know who broke that story? Fox News. So Tucker knows it, everybody knows it. It's just they're playing games, and that's all. And if this is Tucker, the upside is maybe it penetrates the bubble a little bit and have people go, well, yeah, I mean, common sense. I mean, it was wrong, right? Yeah. And that would be a big development. The other part of it is it's a CYA operation. Cover your ass.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and we'll see if it gets through to some of his readers. It won't get through to his viewers because last night, we can't play the full video, but he claimed that the Ukraine scandal is manufactured. So the same thing that he said in that graphic is, it's really concerning. He then goes on air and screams, this whole thing is manufactured by the Democrats. So a little bit of mixed messages there. And also in terms of, you mentioned the fact that he only brings up his political opponents. He was asked this morning, did you see on Chopper Talk? So he was asked by a reporter, have there been any cases where you asked them to investigate people who weren't your political opponents? And he said, you know, we'll have to look into that.
That's amazing.
And by the way, okay, if when this story first broke, if he couldn't come up with one, fine. It's been like 2 weeks. He hasn't done any research to even come up with one to imply that he cared about.
Too lazy and too stupid. That's why I always say, tick, 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 tick. Okay, by the way, they asked Larry Kudlow, are you guys gonna bring up Biden in the trade talks when you're meeting with the Chinese? And he said, to be determined. He said, it's not going to be front and center, but I can't tell you whether it's gonna come up. In other words, I can't control Trump. Of course he's gonna go in there and tell the Chinese, if you wanna do a trade deal, give me Biden's head on a stick, right? Because he knows that the president is corrupt and uncontrollable. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.